What's the one piece of advice that you would give someone starting their own first company?
Just do it. I think overthinking is a big problem that a lot of people have. You just have to have enough confidence in yourself that no matter what it is, you'll be able to figure it out.
This is Austin Jiao with All Star Allocator. Today, I'm joined by Neman, CIO of Neman Ventures. Shen is a serial entrepreneur turned investor, best known for founding Joombug and Easy Testing, both of which had successful exits. Today, he invests actively across tech, healthcare, and real estate. What I appreciate the most about Shen is his honesty. He speaks in truth and facts, no sugarcoating. We covered the key lessons from his first startup, how he built and executed on a seemingly niche idea as a solo founder, and how his experience shaped what he invests today. I've been trying to get Shen on the show for months, and I'm thrilled we finally made it happen. Let's dive in. Your parents came as immigrants, right? They also almost, from what I learned, is they almost built everything from scratch.
Well, yeah. I mean, they came to this country with nothing. They came from Iran, and they had to start over. They had built a life. I was born here at the time, right after they came, and so they had to start from scratch and build another life where they had a great life before, which is challenging, as you can imagine. But in the realm of entrepreneurship, um, that's a normal occurrence, to be honest with you. You're faced with challenges that make you start from scratch all the time, and sometimes you even lose your business and have to start again, right?
Was that how you learned the entrepreneurial spirit, and did that change your mindset towards the business you're building?
Yeah, I think 100%. I mean, I saw my parents work hard. There's no substitute for hard work. I saw the grit that they had. I saw the ingenuity that they had. They did a lot with very little. I saw the drive that they had to make a better life and to, build a business. Um, I would fall asleep on the floor next to them while they would work. You know, they were doing manual labor. They did a clothing business.
Mhm.
Um, till deep into the night. So that definitely, whether or not you want it to, it really sinks into your psyche as a child, and you learn from example.
Mhm.
There are funds that I know that only um, invest in first generation immigrant founders because of this.
The grits that it takes to get it done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you later on started your own business, Joombug. That's probably, was that the first business you started, or you tried something else? I always think great entrepreneurs did many trials before they actually land that idea.
So, I mean, I had like kind of like side hustles going on always like through middle school and high school. Like, I remember I lived in Long Island, and then, we would go to Manhattan and we would buy at that time neon shoelaces that were really like kind of in style and cool, and it was hard to get on Long Island, and so we would buy them in bulk and then bring them to school and sell them for a profit. um, so that was kind of like my first foray into business, I would say, maybe like in eighth grade or something. And then
Fascinating.
in college, because I studied computer science, I made some side money by being a TA, and then also, just working hourly as a programmer, which paid really well at that time, because, you know, uh, I mean, still does right now, but back then it was even better because they just really didn't exist that much. And so, I had a couple of side hustles here and there, but yeah, prior to Joombug, I actually did one more startup with friends where we raised venture capital. It was called Offix, and you know, I actually dropped out of medical school to do that company because my roommate was working at Goldman, and he convinced me that we could become fabulously rich during the dot-com boom. And he found people who were willing to give 22-year-olds millions of dollars during the dot-com boom to try and out an idea that was unproven. At the time, it was a SaaS business, but they didn't have the word SaaS at the time. It was called an ASP, an application service provider, and
I see.
basically we built a portal for businesses that had an app store, and you could get your apps virtually through the internet and pay a monthly fee for it in the cloud, which the word cloud didn't exist either. Um, uh, so and we would deliver your apps through using Citrix at the time. So there were no like web-based apps at the time. It was all Windows based. So you had to kind of do it that way.
Wow, you're really ahead of your time. And
Yeah, that was actually to our detriment, to be honest. That was the reason why it actually failed, is that we were way too ahead of our time, and that sometimes is the case. You can either be too early or too late a lot of times.
so how did the idea of Joombug came to be? Like, why did you decide to pick nightclubs as the vertical you wanted to get in?
So after that business failed that I just told you about, I had invested all my money too, and lost all of it after the dot-com crash. And then I was in New York City, so 9/11 happened too, which wasn't a good time at all. But my girlfriend at the time was working at a few nightclubs on the side while she was going to college, and I moved into her dorm to save money on rent because I was low on cash, or didn't have any cash at all at that point. And I would pick her up a couple of times a week at the nightclub or bar that she was working at late at night, and I'd go into the back and see how they were running their operations, and it was funny. They were doing everything on paper and pen, and it was obvious that it didn't really they hadn't really adopted what they needed to do at that time, and which meant using a digital system, having digital tickets, and those types of things. And they were giving out flyers that were paper based, that were just being thrown on the floor. And so I had a better idea, and so I instead of going back to my dorm room, I went back to her dorm room, and
That's
started
always a better
coding it.
idea.
Yeah, that's true in many other respects. But and I just started coding, and made a first version, had an in because of her, getting my first account, and that was the humble beginnings of something that became much larger over the next decade.
So it sounds like you noticed the market demand back then. Did you have to further validate like how big the market could be? In today's venture, you always wanted to pursue the largest market, but what was that the process?
No, the process was just to make money.
Yeah,
Uh, and can I make a profit doing this? It wasn't really I wasn't really building the company to sell it. I was building it because it was the opportunity in front of me, and it was very clear to me that um, you know every nightclub and bar should be using a system like this. And I don't know, I guess it was the optimist in me and being naive. But the TAM was really big. I just wasn't sophisticated enough to kind of pre-analyze that. And honestly, maybe if I was, I wouldn't have ever done it.
sure. It seems like um, Joombug is still doing and focusing on nightclubs and events today. I was doing the website. I was looking at the website. Uh,
I think it does, but I mean, I haven't. It's been a very long. It's
it's
been
been a very long
decades.
time.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's been a long time.
How is kind of the decision like during your journey of building the software, you probably realize some of the features can be utilized for other purposes. Like how did you stay in your course and try to expand within the client base? versus build a broader horizontal platform?
Well, actually, for the most part, I didn't. A lot of the things we were building were very, it was just how do you take what was happening physically and make it digital? There were physical tickets being sold. Why can't you do digital? There are physical flyers being done. Why can't you send emails? Um, there were people taking pictures and then giving you Polaroids at the parties. Why can't you put that online and do data capture? And then now you have this database of young urban professionals that go out and spend money and travel and have all this disposable income, which is this elusive demo that advertisers like alcohol companies and luxury car manufacturers and things of that nature desperately want to get in front of. I mean, they do event sponsorships all the time, but imagine if you could, get that same demographic online. Um, so I realized that, and we expanded upon features that would continue to increase our database, and also serve the customers, which were the nightclubs and bars, and make them more money. So that was the easy part. But at one point, about 8 years into it, we realized that the efficacy of email had really kind of come down a lot, because you know now you weren't just getting emails from us about events, but you were getting it from the club because they had their own constant contact or MailChimp account, um, or you were getting it from the DJ, or you were getting it from someone else and their grandmother. And so it was I was looking for another channel to kind of be able to directly get to people and get them to to listen. And at that time, Blackberries had gotten pretty popular in 2005. People started texting a lot more, and I'm like, how do you do texting? It took me a while to figure that out, because this is a pre-Twilio era.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I did, and then we sent out our
For people
first.
who don't know, Twilio is an infrastructure software that allows a lot of software to send text messages to people.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's easier than before, I assume.
Yeah. It didn't exist in there, but I figured it out, just like Twilio figured it out, and then I just did it earlier, and then we sent out our first text message, and then it did amazingly well in terms of ticket sales. But what actually happened in addition to that is that I got personal text messages from people who were on our list saying, "How did you do that? And how can I do that?" And
Yeah.
that's where the light bulb went off. It was obvious that it was a lot. The applications of this was much more broader than just nightclubs, for example. Although it was great that we had all these nightclubs as customers, because they're very early adopters of technology, as you can imagine, because they're
Younger crowd
mostly,
and
yeah,
yeah.
mostly run by younger people who had the Blackberries and understood the text messages and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so we started the land grab with them, and they actually gave us the base to start that business. So I started a separate business called Easy Texting,
Mhm.
that wasn't just about nightclubs. It was about anyone and every of this. So we had retailers. We had, actually, if you can imagine, we had a lot of nightclubs, and our second biggest kind of client were churches, churches and worship places of worship, because they want to communicate with their congregation.
Yeah.
And so but we had all different kinds of customers, actually. And so I ran those two businesses in parallel for a couple of years, and then I sold Joombug, because I saw first of all, easy texting was the shiny new object. And
Yeah.
so I was spending a lot of time on it, but it was actually growing so fast. And I just saw the bigger opportunity was there. And just like obviously Twilio did, and so I sold the other business. I sold Joombug, and then focused all my energy on easy texting for another 8 years, basically.
So all these years, did you raise any money again?
No, no. Thankfully, we didn't have to raise any money because Joombug was bootstrapped, and I didn't have any money, nor did I ever want to get VC again after the failure that I had before that. And so I had built profitable business, and so I used the profits of that business to make easy texting profitable, and so it was all kind of one and the same at that point.
Did you have co-founders?
So for Joombug, I did with my girlfriend because she realized, and
She's the
we were
customer
part.
side.
Yeah, she was the customer facing side because she was a lot better looking than I was, of course, and more pleasant to hang out with. But on easy texting, no, I didn't have any co-founders at that point.
I can't imagine. So we're in a emerging stage, and a lot of times I feel like I need a sounding board or something. Did you have an advisor? Like, how did you cope with all the things that you don't know?
Um,
Well, you actually do know
uh,
it.
no, I didn't know. I just had enough confidence in myself that I would figure it out. I don't know how to explain it. I, I I wasn't I never had, like, let's just say, a mentor or anything like that I could get
Mhm.
through. Um, I don't know, I think part of it was, again, the immigrant background and coming up in an immigrant, my parents, just toughed it out until they figured it out.
Yeah.
And so, I had a lot of emotional fortitude, let's just put it that way. And I still do. Um, I think it's either you learn it young or you're born with it. I'm not exactly sure. But I always just had the confidence and the tenacity to either know that I'll figure it out or, work hard enough to figure it out, basically, or be able to find the person that can help me figure it out. So, whether it was, finding the right lawyer, the right accountant, the right CTO, the right whatever it was that I needed, that that became my mission, and I wouldn't stop until I got it.
Just to sidetrack a little bit, that was before LinkedIn become popular. Like, how did you even find people? What
Um,
referrals?
Craigslist. Craig, Craig, Craigslist. There was a lot of false starts, um, a lot of networking and asking and going to. I was a CS major, so the tech part was easier. I was able to recruit people I knew. Um, so I mean, there were resources, maybe not as many as there are now, but you'd have to physically exploit them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's fascinating. But changing gear a little bit. For a couple of years after you accumulated your wealth to be deployed, you actually picked real estate for a period of time, and maybe still a focus. And real estate is very, very different from tech, right? What about the real estate side that attracts you?
So again, I came from an immigrant family, so they were always in the idea of owning physical assets, because they had to abandon everything, and they were always kind of taught that physical assets are what you want to invest in and put your money into. So I had already had some background with real estate because of my family. I had to actually run their real estate business for a while because my mother was really ill. My father passed when I was very young, so you know another part of the grit that came into this. Um, and so I kind of saw how, how money could be made that way, and how what a good investment that it is. And so I learned through that process. A lot of people kind of did stocks and bonds or that kind of stuff. They learned from that, or some people don't invest at all. Um, but the real estate came really from that. What I was doing was, as I was making money, I was saving my money as well, and I was also investing in real estate. And that grew over a long period of time.
I see. Yeah, it's a slow game. The feedback cycle is also pretty slow sometimes over the years. What
Yeah.
role were you playing in those deals? Like, are you sponsor, operator, allocator? Like, what type of role were you?
Oh no, I was just buying real estate for myself, and so I wasn't syndicating, or I mean, I've been in like, now now I run my own family office, and so we have all different kinds of roles. Sometimes we're just an LP, investing in someone else's deal.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm buying it outright. Sometimes I'm just buying into a fund,
Mhm.
or buying a REIT or that type of thing. Um, but mostly I've done, in my career, I've done mostly industrial real estate, not industrial, I mean commercial real estate, which includes industrial, but mostly like retail shopping centers and office buildings, and those are not really multifamily. It's just way too management intensive for me, and so I don't have the infrastructure in place for that kind of thing. So just been doing that kind of those types of deals, and also like condo projects and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds good. One observation that I have when I interact with real estate people, if they're an operator themselves, they build things where they kind of very hands on with projects. It's really hard for them to invest in other people's deals. I noticed, like, if I could do this on my own, why would I invest in others to do the same thing?
W-
Um,
Well,
what was their thought?
yeah, that's I think that's a big mistake.
Because people have different access or skills.
Yeah. I mean, actually, if you know how to do this yourself, who better to underwrite a deal than you, and know whether or not the person who's bringing you the deal is a good deal or not. And if I could, maybe I'll make a little bit less on that deal, but if I think it's good, and someone else is doing all the work, why not? Um, it's like, I do a lot of venture capital. And I do a lot of direct deals, but I also go into funds when I know the manager is doing, things that I would never do, or not have access that I would never have, or has some sort of edge that I just don't have. The best, the best hedge fund managers, the best venture capitalists that I know do their own deals, but also invest in other people's deals that they find to be exceptional.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a big ecosystem, and it's not a zero sum game in many ways.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So you just kind of mentioned, like, if you're an experienced investor, you have your kind of first principle checks. Like, what is the thing that you're looking for to determine if it's a good deal?
Well, it depends on what the deal is. I mean, first, it all depends on whether it's a venture deal, a real estate deal, or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to people, I would say. So, you're really investing in people, and not yeah, the investment itself, the asset type or whatever it may be, is important, and that should be there. But at the end of the day, there are people behind all of these things. And the thing that's like the thing that makes the difference, are the people, because you could have completely different outcomes for the same type of business, based on who the people are that are involved. Um, So, and also you could have a great idea that's a home run, and something turns, some turn of events like COVID or something that you don't even know that could happen
Yeah.
can change that and flip it on its head. And whether or not the people behind it are the type that can handle that, pivot, whatever, do whatever that needs to be done, you know, that's the important part. Um, so I think, of course, the math has to work out. I think, you have to know about what you're investing in, or know that you want exposure to that thing. But at the end of the day, you have to know the people that you're dealing with, and be very good at really kind of diligencing things and understanding who it is you're getting into bed with.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leads to my question is like, do you think you prioritize experience or do you think you prioritize adaptability? Like .com, like '08, like COVID, it only happened once. It all came in different shapes, have different impact. Do you think, the cycle tested people really are better performing than the newer people?
I think, it depends. Again, if you're talking about real estate, maybe yes. If you're talking about VC, I don't think so. I don't think it really matters. It's like too random.
Yeah.
It's
Uh,
like too random. For the real estate guys, the cycle guys are much more conservative, and so the likelihood of a bad outcome is lower with them. It's not impossible, but it's definitely lower.
mhm.
And so that makes a difference. Um, but it's hard if you're an emerging manager, or you're new to real estate. It doesn't mean that you're not conservative or not adaptable or that kind of thing. You have to really get to know the person.
Yeah, right. So one thing that we haven't talked about is AI. Do you think, first of all, using a smaller wedge to talk about AI, do you think there's any opportunity that can be unlocked by AI in the real estate sector?
Oh yeah, there's a lot actually. I think you're just kind of scratching the surface. Actually, one of the one of the companies that I backed, Figure AI, which makes the humanoid robots, uh, probably the most advanced one, just announced yesterday or yesterday or the day before, I don't remember. The they did a partnership with Brookfield, and they have access. These robots have access to all these apartments that Brookfield owns and different kinds of environments to teach these robots, to do things there, whether it's cleaning, repairing, even just robots that will be in the home later, right? And you can imagine that sometimes, some real estate guys may make that into an amenity, right? Like your apartment comes with your own
Robot
robot
made?
robot maid, robot butler, robot whatever, right? That can do all this stuff for you. So I know that sounds like out there and it sounds weird, but I don't think it's very far away. Just as a practical matter, I think a lot of people think it's much further down the road than it really is. Um, then there's other practical applications. There's a company that I back called ResiDesk, for example, that just like many other prop tech companies, their software that they're the first line of defense for property managers. So basically, if you have an issue and you're a tenant, you call. ResiDesk or you text in. ResiDesk tries to resolve the issue for you. And let's say you need your toilet fixed, it'll know to do that, and then it'll queue you, it'll get the right person there, and that kind of stuff. And obviously, if it can't resolve it, it'll connect you to a human. Um, And what it also does is that's very interesting is that it also uses sentiment engine to know whether or not the person on the other side is satisfied with the service that they've gotten. And if they are, then they send a review link for you to leave a Google review for the
Hmm.
building. And if you can imagine, but Google reviews have become uber important for apartment buildings
Yeah.
because people go and check to see what it's like to live there.
Yeah.
And so, landlords get many more Google reviews and positive reviews using a system like this.
Very well known apartments in my area are getting ones and twos, and they're great already. So it's very picky and very hard to get good reviews.
Yeah, so this really solves for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, yeah. So yesterday I was listening to interview that done with the Open Door new CEO, and one thing that stuck with me, they're saying that we are a software company, we're a software factory, not a real estate company, because you have to judge a company by where the leverages come from. And I felt that is really interesting to me.
Interesting. Yes. I think that's the truth for a lot of real estate companies. They just don't know it yet.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So, what other AI things are you looking at? What opportunity do you think if there's a
You
big
mean
trend for AI
you mean outside of real estate?
outside
Yeah.
real estate?
So I actually like the application of AI to biology. It's called synthetic biology. Or genomics. That I think is a very interesting overlooked play. I backed a company called Taxa, for example, and what they do is they isolate your skin microbiome. A lot of
Hmm.
people don't know that you have a biome on your skin. People know about the one in your gut, but they don't know about the one on your skin. But and they can genetically modify it using CRISPR and AI to do different things. So, for example, they can remove the gene that makes body odor, for example, and create through new microbes and applying those microbes to your skin um, a new type of deodorant, for example, or a new type of sunscreen with probiotics that can protect you from the sun, or mosquito spray, for example. You use, kind of chemical mosquito spray. What if your skin naturally repelled, the biome on your skin naturally repelled mosquitoes, and were engineered to do that. So that's just one application that I thought was super
Super
cool.
cool. Yeah.
But there's a lot of other things going on in that realm, especially with immune system manipulation and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So, are you exposed to crypto? Do you have any allocation to that?
Yeah, I do actually. I was introduced to crypto very early in 2012. So I learned about Bitcoin, got a little bit of Bitcoin, mined a little bit about Bitcoin. I got into XRP really early in like 2014, and Ripple, and like learned about that. I'm more exposed through like funds and stuff, and that where there are much smarter people doing it. But I do know a lot about crypto, and I track it, and I believe in it, and I understand it because I have a technical background.
Do you think it's going to go now? It's going mainstream. Do you think it's going to go further mainstream, or do you think it kind of plateaus with gold is not like for everybody. Many people don't have
No, no. If I had a kid today, and I had a bunch of money, I do have kids, but I'm just saying if I had
gold. Yeah,
a new child, um, uh, and I was gonna invest for that child,
yeah,
or I was investing in my retirement account, I would sell everything and put it into Bitcoin.
that's strong. Okay, so
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I do. I don't have a better idea for 10 years or 15 years down the road, just as a practical matter.
okay,
Because like for me, I'm not going to retire at least for that amount of time, probably more. And my kid, if I had a new kid or whatever, that they're not going to need the money until they're 18 or something. And so if I was if I'm betting and I want the best odds, I'm not saying I'm 100% correct. I'm just trying to make the best odds bet. It's probably Bitcoin.
Makes sense. Well, I started to grow real conviction. I'm pretty slow. I came from the traditional finance background where everything has to have an intrinsic value, and I struggled to see the intrinsic value at the beginning. But it now had, I think I'm at the pivotal point that I'm at this like all in stage. Yeah. So if you today, starting today, you don't think about the capital, don't think about brand connections. You just rely on one skill that you honed in and mastered in the past few years. What would be that winning skill that you think you can? Oh, I'm okay. I'm confident I can rebuild everything.
Good question. Okay, here's the skill. The skill is being a good decision maker. It's easy to say, hard to do, and no one teaches you how to ever do it. Like you weren't taught how to make good decisions in school. Like your parents
Right.
don't teach you. I mean, how do you even define a good decision? It's very hard to do because some decisions you make, maybe in the short term, the outcome is bad, but in the long term, it's good. And some are vice versa, and some of them oscillate over time because of cyclicality or whatever it may be. So, but in general, just like kind of like I don't know, I heard some statistic that like Federer won because 51% of his shots were winners and 49 weren't. And if you could just make 1% better decisions, you're better off than 99% of everyone else. I've taken courses on decision making, and it's very hard to kind of get yourself out of the normal mental models that you're in, and follow each and every time and consistently a formal process for making decisions. But what, like everything else, when you practice it, you become better at it over time. So if there's anything that I could tell you that would impact all parts of your life,
Mhm.
the most is, learning, or at least attempting to learn how to make better decisions.
I could think of, well, first of all, it's very right, but there's no right or wrong at the moment that you made the decision. A lot of times the result justifies if that was a decision smart or bad for normal people, even though 99% of the probability is towards the other outcome, and it didn't happen. You're proven quote unquote wrong for not making the right decision. How do you kind of stick to your own decision? So like, oh, that was the right choice, even though it didn't work out that way. Like, how do you have that fortitude?
How do I do it? Nothing. A lot of practice. It's
Do you meditate?
I used to. It didn't really work for me, just to be honest with you. Um, I think it, I look back, but I don't dwell on the past. It's very different. It's one thing to look back and try and learn from your mistakes. It's another thing to constantly live in those mistakes and dwell in it and like not move on, right? Um, so I have to just come to the real. I've come to the realization that I'm going to make mistakes, and some of them are going to be in my control, some of them are out of my control, and all I can do is focus on the ones that are in my control and just move on and try and do the next thing, right? Um, because usually the next thing, if you do it and it works out, will more than make up for all the mess ups that you had before.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Um, on that vein, what's the one piece of advice that you would give someone starting their own first company?
Just do it. Just do it, and just really just I think overthinking is a big problem that a lot of people have versus doing. You just have to have enough confidence in yourself that no matter what it is, you'll be able to figure it out. Um, Even if it looks impossible and daunting and that kind of stuff, there's no one who kind of knows the plan end to end, you know? Like if
Yeah.
that was the case, like everyone would start their own business.
Sure.
Um, the other thing that I would tell you is that like if you don't want the responsibility, then don't do it. That's, like just there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people don't, and a lot of people would rather just kind of like have like a 9 to 5 and have their weekends to themselves and do whatever they're doing, and have their free time and that kind of thing. But, I've never seen a super successful business that doesn't like totally consume a founder.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah, I was doing investment banking for 10 years. And at the beginning, I was like, why this job is always like 100 hours a week, right? And it turned out, like, as I keep doing the job, I realized my clients are working 100 hours a week. So I'm matching their intensity. It's just the business. and and I realized the hardest working entrepreneurs usually have pretty great outcomes. And they know, at least they know what they're doing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. That's the thing. People want certainty and something that's inherently uncertain. And and if you're not comfortable with being uncomfortable and uncertain all the time, it's not the right thing for you.
True. So I have some quicker questions, lightning round. What do you do outside work?
So I have 3 young kids, and so they take up all my time when I'm not doing other stuff. But I also have started and I play a lot of paddle. Or some people call it pedal, because I live in Miami, and that's a really kind of like up and coming sport. I got introduced to it about 3 years ago. A friend of mine and I, we invested and started a members only paddle and pickle and tennis um, club in Southampton.
Mhm.
um, and kind of got introduced there. It was a real estate deal, and we didn't know what to do with the real estate, so we did that. And it turned out to be a good choice, or a good decision. And so now, like almost every day, as much as I can, I play. I'm pretty paddle obsessed. It's a known thing where people kind of get obsessed with this sport.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And why did you move to Florida? That was you were in New York?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I lived in New York my entire life, up until I moved here about 12 years ago. Um, it was pretty simple for me. Basically, we lived in New York City and we had our first child. And anyone who tells you having a child in New York City is glamorous is lying to you. It's not fun.
Getting
uh,
people to the subway.
It's not fun. It's either too cold, too hot, raining, snowing,
Right.
whatever, and it's dirty, and it's not no convenience for parents. There's so anyway, I didn't want to live in the suburbs, and we wanted to live in a building. So I was like, how about a building on the beach? Let's see if that works, and
Mhm.
that way we kind of get the best of both worlds. And yeah, we did it for like a month and it worked out. And I mean, this is pre-COVID, so I figured out the work from home, don't pay state tax thing, because in New York, the state taxes are very high.
Yeah.
Um, and that's it. Uh, just kind of went for a month and didn't come back.
Oh, wow. Sounds great.
Yeah.
And you probably developed a new daily routine. What's your kind of the biggest daily non-negotiable now?
Some time with my kids. Like I can't go one day without being with my kids. I also journal every day, so I have to do that for 5 minutes. So I'm pretty obsessive about it. Um, I don't know. I mean, I'm probably psycho like everyone else. I have to check my email too. Like,
Yeah.
like I don't think I've gone a day without checking my email in a very long time. So let's just say that.
I've developed a habit during banking. We were told to check emails every 10 minutes, and it became my thing. And it's probably pretty detrimental to my mental health.
Yeah. No, I think I've broken that record of 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your pet peeve when you see something like you don't like?
I won't do business with someone if like I send an email to them and then they don't email me like until 3, 4 days later. It's
Yeah.
um it's like I don't operate like that. And so I know immediately if I want someone to operate, whether or not I want to work with that person. Or if I send an email and the email has like two or three components in it, and the person only just replies to one part of it, and like it was a multi-part email,
Yeah.
um, then I know that like we're not meant to work together, right? So
Yeah.
it's about the details, I would imagine, so if you're not like detail oriented, I'm at the point where I can choose who I can work with, thankfully. And so I'm just gonna choose not to work with you. Simple as
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were in the messaging business. You were pretty precise on words.
Yeah, real
Yeah.
time, and
Exactly.
time, timing
Yeah.
matters. Absolutely.
Yeah. Using one word that people describe you. Um, I couldn't use one word to describe myself. I'm giving you the hard question, but I
Yeah.
asked ChatGPT to describe myself, and they said like I always try to get the answer, and I will ask all the ways around it to get the answer. So that's what ChatGPT describes me. Like, is there something that could best describe you?
Well, let's ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating how much they know you now.
No, ChatGPT said relentless. That's
Oh,
interesting.
okay. I guess that's
Um, I think it would be more like intentional. No.
intentional. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think both are good. Both are important attributes for entrepreneurs and investors. So regardless. And my last question is like it's been incredibly fun to chat with you. And where can people find you and work with you if they want?
I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So that's probably the best way. Or I have a contact form on my website. So that's probably the easiest way to get in touch with me.
Yeah, sounds great. Well, thank you so much for being generous with your time, and it's really, really fun for the chat. And I personally learned a lot to become a better entrepreneur, a better
Yeah.
investor myself, and also to be a better responder to emails.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to speak with you.
That's it for today's episode of All Star Allocator. Big thank you to Neman for sharing his experiences and insights. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to follow, rate, and share with a friend. We want everyone to listen to it. I'm Austin Jia. Thanks for tuning in. As always, this is not investment advice or tax advice.